Hi, Paul. Thank you very much for taking part in the Business Spotlight series. I'm going to hand it straight across to you. Introduce yourself and what you do.
My name is Paul Flynn. I am the founder and owner of a number of mental health services. One is called Addcounsel and the other is Orchestrate Health. I'm based in central London and work with a multidisciplinary team of clinicians to treat people for their mental health.
Brilliant. Very, very meaningful. I guess probably challenging at different times too. And how long have you done that for?
So we've been doing it for 6 years now, and it's grown quite significantly, I'd say, in the last 18 months. As you say, it's a great thing to do. It's, as you say, there's a lot of meaning to it, and I absolutely love my job. I love what I do.
Great. And tell me about how it works. Do people come to you voluntarily, or is it, do you work through other practices, or how does it work?
Yeah, so we get our inquiries through a number of different channels. One is obviously the internet. You've got to be digitally enabled these days to capture the inquisitive nature of people, particularly around mental health. But also we have relationships with a range of different organizations, both clinical, but also advisory in other fields. So we work with family offices, we work with lawyers, we work with people who specialize in putting together trusts. So we have a very diverse referral network. We're also significant onward referrers ourselves. So what you tend to find, particularly in the area of mental health, there's a lot of collaboration with other providers, because we acknowledge that at the end of the day, making sure people get the very best care is the ultimate goal. So we have a very close-knit network, really, certainly in the UK, but also internationally.
Great. And I suppose when we say mental health, what are the sort of typical kind of things that people might come for help with?
Okay, so we have a service called Addcounsel, which is a one patient at a time treatment program and service for primarily addictive disorders, but they often co-occur with other mental health disorders. So every patient is different. So one week we can be working with somebody who may have issues around problematic relationships with alcohol and drugs, but also an eating disorder. Other weeks it might be somebody who is experiencing issues with bipolar. So there's a real kind of diversity to the range of cases that we have. And what we have to do is we manage a number of different patients at different stages of their timeline of their treatment. So it's it's usually quite an interesting mix of cases that come our way.
Indeed. And obviously you've been operating through COVID. So how was that? What was the impact of that on the business, I suppose, and probably, I guess, also on your clients?
Yeah, COVID was very challenging for a number of reasons. Firstly, in Addcounsel, many of our clients came from overseas, so we lost that client base literally overnight. So what we had to do is we pivoted and we opened a new service called Orchestrate Health, which is delivered online, but it's also delivered in home as well. So having a blended approach to mental health services is something that we feel is really important. And we've been able to really grow and kick on since the relaxation of the restrictions post-pandemic. I think what it's also done is it's no doubt that the pandemic has changed the delivery systems for mental health. But what it's also done is it's put mental health in the spotlight, particularly anxiety and depression. A lot of isolation at home has had a massive impact on people. And though we don't work with people under the age of 16, there is undoubtedly a crisis in young persons' mental health at the moment, which the public sector is really just struggling to manage.
Yeah. Yeah, so do you saw a sort of big uptick in terms of people dealing with anxiety and depression since the end of, or during and end of COVID?
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. It's something that I think what you have is there is no doubt there's a heightened awareness now around mental health, which is a great thing. And the ability to be able to access professional services like ourselves. Yes, that's great, but also having online support as well for a range of different apps and emerging technologies. That's been really helpful as well. But definitely there's, there is real momentum, no doubt, in our business. But certainly speaking to a lot of other mental health providers, their biggest challenge, I think, at the moment is accessing human capital to be able to deliver services. And that's something that I'd say it's a challenge we face on a regular basis too.
That's interesting. And so, in terms of that, is that to find people with appropriate backgrounds to be able to provide the support that's required?
Absolutely, yeah. Having availability of good people, having diversity in both backgrounds and also different approaches to practice. That's the things that we come up against, really. So we've got a very robust recruitment process, and we work with a range of different kind of organizations and networks to help make sure that we've got a constant stream of people coming through to us.
Yeah, that's interesting. And in terms of is that the main challenge moving forwards, or is there anything, what else is a challenge?
I'd say that's the main challenge, really. Main challenge is definitely accessing the resources to deliver the services. I mean, with regards to inquiries, being London-based is a wonderful thing in many ways, because what we're able to also access is a range of international clients that make London their second home, or they make their home certainly over the summer or winter periods. And being able to have a multilingual, multi-ethnic team is something that it's a challenge, but we kind of revel in it to be able to make sure that we can actually deliver really robust services.
Sure, that's interesting. And on the other side, I suppose, where would you like to see the business go in the next 5 years?
So we have a plan in place at the moment to continue our growth strategy and put in place more professionals within our business who have had experience in scaling services like ours. Addcounsel is a pretty unique service, certainly in the UK. And when you're treating one patient at a time for something like addiction, as opposed to treating them in a treatment centre, it's a very different type of offering. So for us, it's going to be about, I suppose, over the next couple of years, accessing more capital if we look to expand, but also making sure that our marketing is right, and most importantly, we're delivering world-class care, because that's at the heart of what our goal is as an organisation.
Yeah, makes sense. Great, and obviously been going now for a number of years. What would you say has been the biggest learning you've had in that time?
Oh, the biggest learning, you've got to have the right people in your business and the people that you trust. I would say for the first number of years, certainly the first 2 or 3 years, it was very challenging. My own role day to day was more as an investor, but that changed, and it's certainly more. I'm a CEO, I'm the leader, I'm the person who is responsible for making sure the vision is right, and you're kind of setting the direction for the organisation. But then also making sure you've got a really good collaborative culture, and you have to invest your time in making sure that you're hearing the people that work for you, and spending time with your customers as well, to make sure you get it right. And we don't always get it right, and we acknowledge that. And where we haven't got it right, then what we do is we really listen and put in place plans to deliver, the necessary changes.
Goodness, it's interesting. Yeah, is that very much that role of the CEO, where you're trying to do lots of different things and trying to work out the best way to do it. So there's appreciate
yourself, sometimes it's about actually understanding that there are certain things you just don't need to get involved in, and you need to let other people move forward with it, because if you don't, then they won't grow and you won't grow. Yeah. And we're certainly in that phase at the moment, and that's a very good place for us as an organization to be.
Yeah, really exciting times. And look, I'm interested in this one too. What is it that inspires you?
What inspires me? I think for myself, what I see in people is change, and often people not just getting their lives back, but actually getting a life that they haven't really ever had. And I get to see this on a weekly basis. For me, there's nothing more inspiring than that. I've been fortunate in business before, that I've been able to, be successful, make money, and that's all great. But the important thing is, and what you really get is having that sense of purpose and drive to go out there and help people access a better life. And for us, it's about providing the very best premium mental health care. And that is very much at the heart of what I do. But I'm inspired by the people around me on a daily basis, because they're often the ones who are really, inspiring others and helping them move their lives forward. And that's a wonderful thing.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I thought it might be something along those lines, but it's always great to hear. Great to hear the difference you're making. Look, as a final thing, is there any news or any offer you'd like to extend to the audience?
Not really. I mean, what I'd say is it's probably always a good idea for people to check us out on the various different platforms. We're very active on LinkedIn. I'm also fairly active on there as well. Websites, orchestratehealth.com and Addcounsel.com. I think there's some interesting content on there. You don't have to be a paid customer of ours to get some insight around mental health, and equally so, anyone ever wants to drop me a line, feel free, drop me a message on LinkedIn, and I'll always endeavour to come back to people. Brilliant.
Thank you very much, Paul. I think it's definitely worth having a look at, and I know there's lots of people out there just now who might need that help. So thank you for that.
Lovely.
Lovely to speak to you, and thanks for taking part.
An absolute pleasure. You take care. All the best.
Thanks, Paul.